He is, guys, the main man,
What
Sean
up, man?
Zittel.
Oh, hair looking terrible. What up, man?
What up, man?
What's up, man? We got kids going crazy playing
Oh
in the living
man,
room. We had the saddest. Well, not really. I was prepared emotionally for what could happen. We had
with
a
the
horrible
Niners.
49ers party where
I'm so,
I got Steve Young on
I hear
belt
you.
to ass, straight belt to ass tonight. Yeah, it's like
But
Zuffa
Sean,
Boxing to the establishment of boxing. Just belt to ass
so
incoming.
Sean, what are your early thoughts on Jai Opetaia signing with Zuffa Boxing? Because we were talking about that before you joined.
Well, you have such a high IQ chat. Okay, I'm going in my car. You have such a high IQ chat that secret dance moves in the chat did my job better than I do my own job, and informed me that they're really just paying for the American TV rights, kind of like Top
Hmm.
Rank was doing with Inaway. So
Yeah.
you're not you're not really footing the bill of where he gets the bulk of his money. That's coming from the Australian deal, and so they wisely are just swooping in and getting the American rights kind of for meaning they're not on the hook for really paying him the bulk of his money, because that was the question I had was like,
Mm.
this is some huge star, but he had to have been getting on the zone and from Matchroom. So did you guys really spend that much money to bring him in? But if what Secret Dance Move says, it makes sense. It's like, no, not necessarily. They just paid to get his American rights. So whereas
Yeah.
DAZN was trying to get, this is really just me reporting on Secret Dance Moves' behalf. This
Shout out to Secret
where,
Dance
yeah,
Move.
yeah, whereas the zone wanted the rights to the Australian money and all that. So that, he kind of got the 2-for-1 deal. I can be on Zuffa, which is going to be the biggest platform in the United States, and then still get paid the bulk of my money probably from the Australian deal. So kind of like PBC
Mm.
was doing with Tim Zoo.
Okay, that makes sense. So that would give him the freedom to still would that give him the freedom to still defend the IBF belt and I guess do the Zuffa thing?
Yeah, I think early out the gates, Zuffa's going to be smart enough to be like, sure, defend your sanctioning. But I mean, that's why Dana is talking about Ocampo's only losses were in title fights. So, which
Yeah.
is, ironic because he's saying these belts are retarded and don't mean anything. And then at the same time promoting his first fight with, well, he's only lost in title fights. It's like,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
titles? The one you said don't matter or are irrelevant? Those titles?
Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, we all have our cake and eat it too sometimes.
We do. We do. Sean, well, I gotta acknowledge the super chat because it's so large. And my man Felipe, he done sponsored the whole live. He said this live is being sponsored by the Almighty Lord and Savior. God bless. And yes, Jesus Christ. Yes. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to the Lord. Without the Lord, I'm not here. A lot of y'all ain't here. So all of y'all ain't here.
Brendan, Brendan, why don't you say it the way you always say it when we talk privately about Jesus? When you go, every tongue shall profess, every knee shall bow, and you finish the sentence.
Yeah,
You
every
just
every every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is King. Yes, sir.
that's not exactly how you say it when we're alone.
How do I say it?
You say and bitch ass. That means go ahead.
And bitch ass.
You're Puerto Rican. You're good, aren't you?
Oh no, I can't. No, I can't say that. I
Okay.
can say it, but I won't do that right now.
Brennan, to finish. Well, Brennan says and ban, BAN,
B
being the
A N.
abbreviate, being the acronym. That means you too.
Yeah,
He
I
said,
mean all y'all. But
yeah.
switching gears, Sean. Let's see what else? We got Zuffa Boxing. You got any thoughts, Sean, on like I know you touched a bit on Derrick James and Brian Norman
Yeah.
Jr. What do
Yeah.
you think about that? And I know you mentioned in the comments, but who do you think would be a good fit with Brian Norman Jr.?
Man, I wish John David Jackson would get some run again. But you know what? Again, and I said it in your chat earlier, man. No matter who we're talking about, I mean, well, I don't think anyone's bringing up Freddie anymore with the age he's at, and respectfully, one of the greatest trainers ever, who learned under Eddie Futch, as we all know. But his health rating, I just want to put a lot of respect on his name before I mention that part of his life right now. But whether it's Freddie, whether it's Virgil Hunter, even Bomac to a lesser extent because he hasn't been around as long as those guys and he's still in his prime as a trainer. Um, what I'm getting at is, man, there's it's a lot of established names that's already been around for a while and have made a lot of money, and it's not a lot of young up and coming trainers. So that, like in the NFL, man, they look for who's the hot young offensive coordinator. They don't just immediately go after Mike Tomlin when he's I mean Mike Tomlin's going to get a job, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
John Harbaugh is going to get a job. But what's really hot in the NFL, like the Seahawks who just spanked the shit out of the Niners, that guy is in his first head coaching gig in the NFL. Mike McDonald, Ben Johnson, over hosting the NFC divisional. He's in his first head coaching job. He was the offensive coordinator. D'Amico Ryan's with the Texans, and yeah. So yeah, there's retreads in the NFL, but like in other sports, the hot thing is getting the young talent who's on the rise, not just retreading the same established names over and over again. And that's kind of what we got in American boxing right now. But to answer your question, like I think Derrick James will improve Brian Norman. BT, I think you'd agree. Derrick James's strength is the lead hand control, being
Yep.
busy with the lead hand, volume, conditioning. Volume, conditioning, and good work with the lead hand, being very educated with your jab. I think Derrick can make Norman a little bit busier. I think Norman has an underrated jab. He was out jabbing Haney early and then didn't get the
Mhm.
best advice from his pops. And then Haney overall is just a better fighter at this point in their careers and outskilled him and beat him clean. But Norman has a good jab, and I think Derrick James can only make it a better weapon for him, maybe even better sense of distance and all that. But Derrick James, even back doing videos with Dante, who doesn't like me, but hey, I give credit where it's due. I watched the interview. Derrick
Yeah.
James kind of downplays head movement. And to be fair to Derrick, I've seen Floyd Mayweather in the gym with some of the best head movement of all time, kind of saying you don't need to be getting under and ducking and doing
Correct.
a lot of Mike Tyson, Canelo stuff. If you know how to control distance and keep a guy on the end of your punches, half the time you don't need to do all that. But that being said, Derrick James is not the head movement guy.
No,
And
no.
Brian Norman, he kind of, when Sports Illustrated did a study on Julio Cesar Chavez, they studied one reason he has one of the greatest chins ever is he has a big fucking head. And so like scientifically, they showed why this man could take a better punch than 99% of not 0.9% of other human beings. Brian Norman has a small head if you look at him. And I think his punch resistance isn't one of his best attributes. I don't think it's a particular strength he has.
No,
So
no.
I wish there was. That's why I bring up John David, because John David is from that crafty Bernard Hopkins. He worked in Bernard's corner. He fought Bernard. He works with Clarissa. She moves her head excellent. I would like to see Brian Norman find a guy who can work on his craftiness and his slickness. I don't think the jab and being busy and being in condition are huge glaring weaknesses that he needs. Yeah, Derrick James would
No.
improve those aspects of him. And Derrick James overall will probably make his tactics a little bit better, his overall game planning better. But I wish there was a guy out there that can help Brian change what Tim Bradley taught me is called head slots.
Mm.
Different ways to get your head off the line when you're working behind your jab and when you're setting things up.
What I'll say is this, Sean. Alda Powell mentioned. Now I'm not gonna act like I'm the most familiar with Bobby Benton. I know he trains with Shockey Foster. I don't know who else he's
Okay.
trained, but he's done a great job with Oshaki Foster.
I
Maybe
mean,
I know he's a younger coach than a lot of the guys we named.
I know Asaki Foster has some of the best defense in boxing. Fought the fight we were at last month. Man, we had
Yeah.
a blast, bro. Covering we really enjoyed how Asaki Foster performed against Stephen Fulton. He's a really really skilled fighter. So if his work with Shock is any indication of the stylistic imprint he can have, then yeah, I think Bobby Benton's an underrated name that not even I'm thinking of. You're thinking of. That's what I mean. Who's the guy that doesn't necessarily have the biggest name, but is hungry and can, really improve you in areas you need improving in.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. There's not a ton of young American coaches I can think of. Like I know like right there in Vegas, you got Bobby McRoy. Like he trained with Raif Salim. I know he's the assistant for Bruce Carrington's
Yeah,
upcoming fight against Carlos Castro. So we'll see how that goes. He's more of an offensive trainer though. Um,
I love
Shakur,
Bobby, and he's hungry, but he I think he still is working he was an apprentice and now he's an intermediate, and I think he's still, working towards his way to being advanced, yeah, in the game. And Bobby's a good dude, man. I even saw him working at the airport once, and didn't know,
yeah,
like, that's how much work ethic that man has and character he has, that he's given the gym 5, 6, 7, 8 hours and working a full-time job
yeah,
at
yeah.
Harry Reid Airport. So shout out to Coach Bobby.
Yeah, shout out to him. He's one of those guys that you really want to see do well in boxing. You root for the guy like Bobby McRoy, but yeah, probably needs maybe a bit more seasoning and experience. But yeah, you
Or
got
an
him.
opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
he gets an opportunity. We'll see. Um, I know Shakur Stevenson's cousin. Was it Trey?
I'm not sure. And then I know Coach Rell um, is working with some guys. Tim Bradley told me about him, that he's very good. He was a standout amateur the other day. Coach K. Koroma is an understated guy. Outside of the Michaela Sandy Ryan drama, like he doesn't get caught up in the cameras a lot. But even
Yeah,
just watching him with Bruce Carrington preparing for Carlos Castro, I was very impressed by the level of detailed game planning for that particular opponent he's doing with Bruce. Obviously, I can't share what
yeah,
it
yeah.
is they're working on, but just from watching, I went, "Oh, he really studied Carlos Castro." It's not some cookie cutter game plan, but yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, we'll see how it goes for Norman. But guys, we got Sean here. So listen, while you got him here, get your questions in. Um, any initial thoughts on IVB boxing, Sean? I know you spoke about it in the comments, but you got any thoughts you want to share about what I know it's on your channel coming out soon, but
Yeah, well, no, yeah, it's coming out tomorrow, where I make a lot of jokes about Ed Pereira, because apparently I like sabotaging my access to credentials now for some reason. I can't get out of my own way.
yeah,
Because I both want to cover a summer outdoor event in San Francisco, and both cannot help, and yet at the same time cannot help myself making so many jokes about Ed Pereira right now,
yeah,
because it's like I want to break the all-time attendance record, and it's like, well,